Hey there guys, Toothpaste Tuber here. In today's video, we're going to be doing something a bit different that I've been wanting to do for a long time. I'm going to be giving you a tour of my Ww1 showplace. This is to supplant the rather bad and awkward tour that I put up earlier on the channel when I first made the channel. This tour is going to be pretty long, so buckle up, get some popcorn, blanket, and curl up next to the TV or computer as you are, and watch this video with me today. So without further ado, I'll take you on a journey back to World War I. Alright, here we are. We are in my world, I should say, and it's probably going to get pretty loud right now. Let me turn this down just a little bit. Okay, it's already on the volume. But, let's see. Please wait while game loads. I added this just because the game fries people's computers beyond recognition, so... Basically, once you start the world, you spawn in here, and you get this little brick teleport to the museum. We'll do that at the end of this tour, but first of all, let's go down this train track to the front. And first thing that we come across is a solitary man playing a very solitary game. Solitaire. And then we get this sweeping view of the destruction of no man's land, complete with the horrors of war being transported through on a litter. This man has come to the realization that we should be going through right now. War is hell. Hell on earth. Over here, we get the commissary's kitchen, with a beef stew or something with beans and probably some bully beef being served. Bully beef is basically corned beef, as well as we have some tables and stuff of that sort. Over here we have the HQ, the headquarters of the military around here, with a wood-burning stove and a little room. You can see a Frenchman out that window, but we're not going over there just yet. Over here is a man reviewing a booklet filled with the names of dead. Now, you guys don't know, and you probably can't see, the names of the dead on this piece of paper are actual names of people who were killed in the First World War. If you'll excuse me while my character freaks out. So now we can go down these steps here. I said we can go down these steps. And we are down in this little dugout here, where the officer, the chief officer, the colonel, or general, or whatever his name is, says, "Just put in more men," he says, while he's smoking a cigar and eating some meat, drinking some wine from wine store. And that was the only one I could find on Roblox. Don't worry, I made this a long time ago. And then this guy is saying, "Sir, we cannot. Our progress has, or the rain has slowed our progress." That was when I made the rain update, which I've since gotten rid of. But this map and the compass here are actually oriented correctly north-south. And yes, basically this is an actual map of roughly the front line that we are going to see, complete with the German 1st and 2nd trenches, the town, the airstrip, and the railroads in the back, as well as this one, and our artillery pieces here. So we can go upstairs go back upstairs now, and we can go over here. Sorry, I get lag spikes because my computer's a toaster when I look in the direction of no man's land. I hope you guys can deal with that. So over here we have some French troops that I wanted to include. Forward, lads! And these guys are wearing the Adrian helmets, and this guy is wearing a very dapper officer's uniform from 1914. These guys are wearing 1915 vintage uniforms, and they all have different faces and different expressions, except for this guy here and I think someone else. Oh no, they're all different. Okay, and this guy has the classic beard. They're carrying Lebel rifles too. This guy has his sword, which is really cool, and yeah, they have yet to see the horror that they're going into. So just past here, we can go over into the main supply trenches. This is the secondary trench, where we can see the troops going forward to battle, all with fear written on their faces. This guy is actually going to go over the top here because he figures why not. And he's probably a bit claustrophobic in these small trenches. This guy is going to make off with some food that, well, he can and no one is looking. Also, trench cat, because cats were a thing in World War I. They helped keep the rat populations in the trenches down a lot. And they were very dangerous, or the rats were anyway, because they carried diseases and they ate food, and it was just unsanitary. However, they were huge rats in World War I, large rat population, so cats were a must in the trenches. I don't know why she's standing amidst the hailstorm of battle, but that was me from a year ago. These guys are an artillery crew. This is a runner who has just come from the officer saying, "Sir, focus on the machine gun nest." And the loader is loading, the man is aiming, and this guy is getting an approximation over here. This soldier is getting another shell to load in. He's rather pale, looks like. So over here, we have another artillery trench with a somewhat different scene going on. I don't believe this one has any grand story to tell. But the other one, oh, also you'll see the muzzle flashes and such from the troops. These guys are firing their gun. Alright, over here we have, like I said, the trench cat, and this officer leading his men gallantly over the top and blowing on his trench whistle with his revolver in hand. And above us we have a barrage balloon used by the British. I'm not sure why that tree is floating, probably hand-handed craftsmanship, I should say. And there are burning trees that are smoldering a little bit. Over here, we have the front line. Now, this front line would have been packed with soldiers and would have been very sweaty, smelly, and scary, especially during times of intense warfare. This guy is being brave and allowing his men to see him over the top. And this guy is trying to get a shot. Well, this guy is getting shot, and that guy is very terrified. A lot of these guys have the same, I think, 3 or 4 expressions. And as you look down the lines, you can see their different faces. This guy is at a Lewis gun, which makes him happy, and is gunning down the opposition, trying to suppress them. This is a cameo of me on the front lines, leading my men into battle. This used to be what face I had in Roblox. So I was saying, "Forward, boys!" We're all going over the top together. This guy says, "I'm scared." To Johnny, his friend. He says, "Calm down, don't make it. Stiff upper lip and all that." And let's see, right over here, we got a lot of barbed wire. And this guy, who already has blood in his beard, probably from the guy bleeding out on the ground, and the man who is blown to bits in the sky. Then over here we have a guy with a grenade, a Mills bomb. That's actually the wrong color. It should be gray or khaki, not green. Here's another machine gunner. And this guy, huffing and puffing on his bagpipe, wearing the period-specific Glengarry, which is the Scottish color. These guys are not wearing kilts because I just wanted to include this guy after I saw the film War Horse. Very fantastic film. I highly recommend. Right, so these guys are doing the same charges and such, and this guy has just found a bullet in his neck. And these guys are getting going, and this guy is calmly looking at this destroyed building. And then this is. Right, so moving forward, these guys are being supported. They're lucky to be supported by a tank. Old, reliable. I'm aware the model is too wide, but who cares? It's supposed to be symbolic of the hugeness of the help that they're receiving. This is just a monster on the battlefield that will make these guys feel extremely handy and extremely safe and comfortable. Over here we have a man from the previous wave that cannot feel his legs, being comforted by the church father on the field of battle behind a hill. And here is the remnants of the first wave. There is plenty of gore in this video, so like I said, be careful, and if you don't have a stomach for it, then please turn back. As you can see, this man's head did not fare well, and this guy over here was killed. There are periodic gas explosions that are in this area. Like this guy, for example, this German sniper is out in no man's land for a dangerous job, and he is wearing a gas mask to protect him. Here's some gas. Now, this is mustard gas, which it is technically the right color, although it should not be that thick. Basically, gas shells are delivered by explosives that would blow up and deliver the explosion. This guy did not fare so well, nor did his rifle. Let's see, over here we have another gas shell explosion, as well as a dead German who is very old. He's been here probably since 1960. And, yeah, very long time. Probably a good few years. Here's a destroyed and overturned artillery piece, as well as, since this used to be a village, an outhouse here that has miraculously survived the war. Yeah. Well. And above us, you will see the maelstrom of battle at its height, including in the skies. We have several fighters, including one diving up there, escorting a Handley Page bomber, which we're looking at right now. Alright, and also there's a shell arcing through the sky up here. Now let's see, if we zoom up and out, we can see the crew of this Handley Page bomber. This guy in the back here is just chilling, sitting there, sitting pretty. This front gunner is looking out for some enemy fighters, and this guy is piloting it. There is also one more soldier, but he's very hard to see. He's tucked up in the belly of the aircraft, which you cannot see from this position. Right, so moving on, we have more explosions going off around us, and this guy seems to have become half the man that he once was due to an explosion. And this guy has just met a German. They're both very terrified, and they were sitting on opposite sides of walls, of the same wall from each other. They didn't even know it, and they both are in fear of their lives from the other. And yeah, if you look up, you will see a plane that has been shot down by presumably artillery fire. You can see up above, and is falling down on fire, as well as the pilot, who's elected to jump out of his craft rather than burn with it. Unfortunately, he caught fire and is now plummeting. There are some birds here. The front was not devoid of life, and in the times in between large-scale battles like this, birds and wildlife actually reigned in No Man's Land, because no one went out there, and you wouldn't shell No Man's Land for no reason. Here is a rather interesting scene. This guy got in this shell hole and bayoneted this German who was here a while ago. But then he was stuck here, pinned down right in front of the German line, and was shot. Over here we have a French tank. This is a Renault FT-17, made in 1917, that is just kind of crashed out here and is starting to rust. Over here we've got a British Sopwith Camel, or at least this was supposed to be a Sopwith Camel. It crashed really badly and kind of shoved the top wing into the pilot. Over here, we've got a poor German lad who's been shot through the head, and his Stahlhelm, his M19 or M1916 Stahlhelm is flying off the back of his head. Over here, we have a German soldier who has never heard of these things that the British call bagpipes, and he hears them leading the charge into battle. He's scared. Also, this guy right here is dripping periodic drips of blood, and is not looking so well. This guy is just sick of war, and he's ready to finish it. And this officer is going to shoot him, because he does not want low morale in this unit. Better to get rid of the shirkers and cowards who would thus escape such a place. Being cowardly. This is a machine gunner with a belt magazine minder. That's what they're called. And Paul has already scored 3 kills. Sorry, he's talking to Paul, and this guy has scored 3 kills. This guy says, "Awesome job." A little development side note. Originally, I had all these guys speaking German, but I was botching the German using Google Translate, and I wanted to be specific to the time. Also, I want this scene to transcend just men in general, and go on to the human condition. So let's see. Ernest is the gunner, or is the loader here. He's telling fire. They have a tank. He's trying to tell this guy to concentrate on the tank as the main target. Right here we have a guy who was killed, presumably trying to reinforce this line during the first attack, as well as this man who has not yet been moved away. This guy is very nervous. And this guy just doesn't even know what the heck is going on. He was presumably sleeping in his dugout. Let's see, over here we've got another German sniper who has a very nice position for himself. He has a sniper shield set up, as well as a mask and camouflaged helmet. He also has some armor that you cannot see, but he's got a very good position. This guy has to go get his bayonet, so we can head down here and find a note. A note that Ernst, up there, the gun, was writing. But basically, if I can get my character on the side, we can go back up here and see the German soldiers getting ready to oppose the enemy. This man has not been, war hasn't treated this guy so well. Let's just say that. And, this guy has not gotten any kills yet, but he's very eager, and his friend is asking him if he can see the enemy. Now up here we have some German barrage balloons that are protecting this bombed-out town, of which we shall see presently. You can go into the other bunkers, but I didn't put anything interesting in. Probably should. Here we have a rather poor attempt at a fire that has broken out in a destroyed trench. This trench is bulged out from an explosion, and there is a flame afoot. These guys are trying to bail it with any water they can find, as well as this guy. Over here, we can go down the German trench. I forgot what I was going to say. Go down the German trench over to these officers who, or this officer, who is basically just asking this corporal what he can see through his field glasses. And they're running right into our machine guns, sir. That's what he says. Now, this guy is a veteran, as you can tell by the scar on his face. And this new recruit is asking him what he can do, because he's scared. And the guy says, "Calm down, boy, I fought at the front longer than anyone." Then, basically, over here, in the town, we have a guy who's sketching a bird. This is a nod to All Quiet on the Western Front, a fantastic war film. Let's see. That lovely bird, which he's sketching right up there, silhouetted behind the sun, or in front of the sun. And then this guy says, "Move, Paul," which is the name of the man from All Quiet on the Western Front. The trenches open out into this destroyed church chapel, or whatever, and then walk over here, and we are on the corner of the main square of the town, which was kind of the center of the focal point of the town before war happened. We can look up into the sky and see two German fighters, one Fokker DR1 and one Albatross B3, I believe, attacking a Sopwith Camel. They're going to definitely get him by the looks of that situation. And this guy is coming up to help. Also, they have unique paint jobs. Just putting that out there. I thought that was pretty cool. To be clear, I did make all this stuff, so I think it's pretty cool. This guy is another German sniper looking out across no man's land. He's got a pretty good vantage point. However, he's pretty far back from the action. Ooh, there you can hear him firing away. And over here, we have one of the more poignant sights in this showcase. This cross that has been the center of the town for so many years has been blown up and covered in barbed wire, and someone has slung a Stahlhelm helmet up on one of the arms. And yet it seems to be leaning down and comforting this poor soldier, who is probably sad that he'll probably never see his mother again. Over here we have just what appears to be only a chimney standing in a once blown out house here, and the house has fallen over into the main yard of the town, courtyard. Oh, over here we have a sign that says Luxembourg, 63 miles. Now that is not very clear, but yes, Luxembourg is 60 miles in that direction, roughly. And, oh man, the artillery. This is a German field artillery piece that is being manned by these two guys, and this guy is asking him please not to drop the explosive ordnance, because this will blow the house sky high. As you see, more barrage balloons about to deter enemy planes from taking strike of the town. And you see Malbej is a town that is 59 miles this direction. And presumably those shells for this gigantic piece over here are being carted in from that town. These guys are loading up the shells, which will be loaded in here. It will open up and then close and fire and go kaboom, you know. Large, heavy artillery. These would be positioned up to about 5 miles behind the lines. However, I don't have 5 miles, obviously. Over here is one of the more gruesome sights in the war. We have to remember these bullets did terrible things to corpses, and that's what that one looks like. Over here we have an attempt at someone trying to bury some bodies of different times when they were killed, roughly. Also, this book down here was one of the principal best-selling books at the time. It was a Marxist, revolutionary book that I chose to put down here, as well as a severed leg, some rotten bandages, and stuff like that. This guy is decomposing with his guts and entrails out. And, yeah, that's pretty cool. I realize I say that's cool, but it really isn't. This is not cool, it's poignant. It's sad. here is a well where the soldiers would draw their water from. And also, one of these lamps around here is still lit, just from the destruction that has been going on. It's kind of surprising. Over here we have a German airfield and what appears to be a crashed German plane that did not make it off the thing. And it kind of wrecked this building, but you can get up here and see some oil leaking from the engine block, as well as the smashed propeller and some rusting and shooting. There was probably a scuffle right above the airfield, and when this guy took off, he was immediately shot. They've moved the pilot's body, but left the plane because they can't really move that. Up here we have, like I said, the artillery thing over here. And then we get a less destroyed area around the airfield. This is probably around 10 miles behind the lines, maybe more. This guy is waiting for the enemy to appear with a machine gun mounted on a tripod. And over here, we have some new, fresh troops coming in to support the line. "For double time, men," he says. These guys are scared. "And don't worry, we'll be heroes, just like Mr. Richter said." Mr. Richter, presumably their school teacher, back in high school. And here we have an identical waiting depot for the train that will never probably come. And over here, we have a German A7V tank. Only 20 of these were ever made, and they were all different in small ways. This one is the fictional 727 number tank, and we have a little guy in here piloting it. Also, derpy face, extremely derpy face on the guy behind it. Kind of a little Easter egg. And then over here, we have Der Bringer des Todes, which means the bringer of death in German. This guy is presumably an ace. We can assume that by the paparazzi over here. Taking pictures of him. The shutter. So this guy is famous. This picture will probably be in the newspaper. This guy is just a German worker who is trying to get this guy's plane, beautiful blue paint job, ready for combat. Stupid photographers in the way, trying to do his job. Here we have some oil pans, oil cans, and tools for working on the plane, as well as some chocks, to keep the plane from rolling away. And yes, we also have some crates of stuff and a barrel. Yes, and that pretty much concludes my World War I showcase. This place is very large and very detailed. It took me a long time to work on. If I do say so myself, it's kind of my magnum opus, my greatest work. And so now, we can go back through No Man's Land. As you will see, getting through No Man's Land is really not easy. Even though I created it, it's still hard going through. And it's extremely laggy because of all the explosions and dead people and everything. And gas. A lot of particles. Whoa, there we go. One right off in front of us. And let's hop over. And also, one last thing before we do go to the museum is this. This is a little house that was blown out, except for this guy. This is a sniper, a British sniper, with a box of Mills bombs just in case anyone tries to come near him. And yes, we see a downed barrage balloon up here. Alright, so without further ado, let's head straight into the museum. Right, so the museum has loaded in, and here we are. We walk out of this little pillared entryway here. And bear in mind, this place still isn't finished. I'm going to add more. But here we go. We are greeted at once by the curator of this place, whose text I have also not finished. "Hello, sir. How may I help you?" You can ask, what is this place? It is a museum for Chamberlain's World War I showcase. Pretty simple, self-explanatory answer, I must say. Over here we have two tribute tables, one to the Allied forces with a British and an Adrian helmet. This is a Brodie helmet. As well as a picture of an unknown British soldier before World War I began. It's in 1914. This is a wreath of poppies. Poppies are the customary flower that is the remembrance symbol for World War I, as well as a cross for the unknown soldier. And here is a Lee Enfield British rifle. Over here, we have a picture of an unknown German soldier who came from Germany in 1914, with poppies and a Gewehr 98K German rifle. Unbewaffneter Soldat. I'm probably butchering that, but it also means unknown soldier. Over here we have some benches, just for you to sit on. I know my character's skin hasn't loaded in yet, but yes. Over here we have the Great Air War display. This has several parts, so I'll tackle this one first. This is basically the bomber crews, and here's a picture of some real-life soldiers. These were in a fighter wing, and these guys are in a bomber crew. And if you look closely at their uniforms, yes, these are the same guys flying the same Handley Page bomber that you saw in the museum. Over here, we've got this guy saying, "Hey, sir, I've got some photographs." Air reconnaissance were incredibly important to the war effort. And over here, you can see a real picture taken from the air in World War I, looking down on no man's land and the surrounding destroyed areas. And you can see the escort plane that was also presumably taking pictures. I love this picture because of that. And here is one that I made of the World War I showcase. Fittingly enough, it has all the hallmarks of an air photo. And over here, pilots were portrayed as the new knights of myth and legend, riding into battle on planes instead of horses. And here's a great impressionistic piece that I found online. I'm not sure who by, but it captures the Knight of the Air perfectly. This picture is, I love this picture to death. Over here we have a Sopwith triplane. If you guys didn't know, the Sopwith triplane was actually the first triplane to be invented, and the Germans found one, copied it, and made their Fokker triplane that we all know and love from the Red Baron. Over here we have tunnels. In World War I, both sides dug tunnels or saps under no man's land to plant mines or listen in on enemy troops. The largest explosion in mankind's history up to that point had been created by one of these mines. There's videos of it on YouTube. You can go look it up. It's insane how explosive this was. Here's a British Tommy digging and a German soldier digging too. Over here we have obliteration. In the village of Fleury is one example of a skeleton village. These villages were absolutely blown to atoms during World War I, as you can see here. During World War I, many villages, such as Fleury, were literally blown to atoms in the intense fighting. This village is still on the map today, has a mayor and a population of 0. It is a commemorative place. You can go there and there's a mausoleum dedicated to the soldiers and people who lived there. This is the village of Fleury before the war struck, and this is what the village looked like afterwards. You can walk there today. There's absolutely nothing that is recognizable there, except the street names are still there, and you can see there are plaques where the houses once stood. It's just now destroyed crater-pocked terrain. 100 years on, the world has still not healed. Here we have fake trees. Throughout the war, both sides made fake observation post trees. These trees provided relative safety for the troops. Now, over here we see just no man's land, and these soldiers would crawl out into these trees and spy on the enemies from no man's land. Here's one in real life. The trees, what would happen is they would case a tree that they would take down, and out in the middle of the night they would cut the tree down and replace it with an exact copy that was hollow, and you could go and spy from. These could be accessed via the saps previously mentioned, or just by crawling through no man's land. Now here we have artillery. World War I could be described as the first artillery war, and these shells are scaled correctly to the person's height, which is rather scary. Ear protection for the crews was not standard issue as well, so they had to improvise it, and many men went deaf. Artillerist's ear was a common condition after the war. German field gun shell. This is just a standard shell that you would load into a gun and fire. The French 77 artillery piece could fire some shells of this sort up to, I think, 60 rounds a minute. Seriously, they were really, really good. 1 per second. A standard British artillery shell fired from about 4 miles away is about that big. Trench mortar shells were really, really big and were placed in the trenches. We'll get more on those later. This is a large French field gun shell that can come up to your shoulders. A German heavy artillery shell. This is the type of shell that would have been fired from the Big Bertha cannons. These things weighed around 2,400 pounds each. That's the size of a car, that's the weight of a car, if you guys didn't know. Small car. This is the Paris gun, the largest artillery piece on Earth. Then or since. This is the biggest artillery gun that has ever been produced. And we have right here a man standing for size comparison. This is an insane gun. It was used to bombard Paris from 75 miles away. They had to factor in the Earth's curvature and spin, the Earth's rotation, when firing this cannon. The shells pierced the stratosphere. Here's a shell fired by the Paris gun. The explosions that fired these shells were so vast, actually, that the shells and cannon had to increase in caliber with each shot because they wore away some of the barrel on the inside. In World War I, tanks were for the first time used in combat. Here's a beautiful piece of art that shows the destructive power of these things. Ww1 is a famous tank from World War I. You can research more about the crew and what it did. In World War I, it basically saw the first uses of tanks in combat. German soldiers didn't know what to do at the sight of these huge lumbering metal giants. Some really interesting thing you could do is go up and look at online and look at first-hand accounts of German soldiers upon seeing tanks for the first time. Most were very unnerved. Here we go, weapons. This is the hallmark of this museum so far. And we have a variety of different things, as well as some art pieces on the wall. Uploading these Roblox was totally neat. Please don't ban me. Again, poison gases here. Basically, mustard gas was the one we think of when we think of it. Mustard gas killed only 3% of its victims. However, it was the most debilitating. It caused blisters to appear on exposed skin. The gas also broke down the very DNA of the cells that it came in contact with, killing cells and causing gangrenous skin to appear. Phosgene gas was the most deadly of the gas of the war. We don't think of it, but it killed 83% of people who came into contact with the gas in lethal levels. It had no color, and the gas could easily be mistook for smoke or mist. However, in dangerous levels, it smelled of musty hay, which gave it away. That was the only way you could detect it. Chlorine gas caused hydrochloric acid to form in someone's lungs, so that they would drown in their own lungs. Fortunately, the gas smelled strongly of bleach and was therefore detectable. Many gases other than these were used, but these are the three principal ones. Over here we can see some grenades. These are the three principal grenades, the French 1914 style, British 1915, and German 1915. Note that the French came into the war using this, but changed to a more modern type. Grenades like this were a device with which the rifleman could take out machine gun nests with comparative ease. Over here we can see trench mortars. Trench mortars, the normal fighting men actually disliked the trench mortar crews, who would set up, take a few shots, and move on before the counter-battery artillery fire would come, thus killing more riflemen and saving the trench mortar crew to do more havoc. Up here we see a very poignant photo of a British soldier who has simply lost the will to fight, framed on the wall. Here we have the Entente weapons. These guys are the weapons used by the Allies. Bullets are roughly to scale with one another across these two things, but not with you, obviously, or with the guns. The guns are scaled to you, however. So here is a Lee Enfield SMLE Mark III from England. This is the standard British rifle from, I think, 1886, I do believe, until the present day. Here we have a M1886 Lebel rifle of France. Very interesting bullet shape on that one. And the M1903 Springfield rifle from America when they joined the war. The Maxim gun here, having killed more people than both atomic bombs combined. This Maxim gun, used by both sides, was considered by some the most destructive weapon ever created. Let's click to see what it sounded like. There we go. Over here we have German weapons. The Luger M1908 was manufactured by the Parabellum Company. And over here we have the Gewehr 98K, which was the standard German rifle of the war. It was manufactured in 1898. So over here we have the Tank Gewehr, which is basically a scaled-up version of the Gewehr 98. However, it fired huge rounds. These bullets are to scale with one another. It was for taking out tanks, and it was the answer to the tank. Up here we have a beautiful picture called Gassed. I think painted in 1916 or 1918. I'm not certain on that. Of gas victims from the First World War. Mustard gas, in particular, often blinded the user as it caused blisters to appear on exposed skin. You can imagine what it did to eyes. Flamethrowers, right over here. First invented in World War I, flamethrowers were used as a somewhat ineffective terror weapon. Now, they were ineffective on the terror side, but they were not ineffective in what they did. You guys can go Google the Livens flame projector, as well as World War I flamethrowers, and see what comes up. It is hellish what these troops endured at the hands of German flamethrowers, and British ones too. Here we have trench clubs. Trench clubs came in all types as they were made by the soldiers themselves. This one is quite well built and not quite typical. The one behind, as you see, is an actual picture of one. It is basically just a chair leg with a lanyard strap and barbed wire wrapped around the end. This one, it has spikes and everything and looks like it was made to order. Over here we have the last exhibit, Worlds Collide. The Great War introduced the old world, unprepared in psychology or attitude, to the technology and means of a new world, without any warning. One of the reasons for the unimaginable death toll in the war was the fact that no country was really ready for a war, quote, fought without reserve or mercy, without concern or hesitance, a war to end all wars. I forget where that quote comes from, and I wish I could put it up there. Here we have a picture that just struck a chord with me when I first saw it. You can see some French troops marveling at a Newport 17 fighter airplane. These are cavalry soldiers fighting alongside airplanes. Truly, this war did stretch the old world into the new. And here you see the hell of the modern battlefield, the tank, roaring up to this soldier. Alone, unprepared, he's not ready for what is coming. And that is all we have thus far, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for watching this video, and thank you for coming on a journey with me, the creator of this place, as well as the creator of the previous World War I showcase. You guys can go to this place. There's a link in the description of this video to my World War I showcase, and like I showed you, you can just hop on that blue tab when you first spawn in and come see this place. Also, talk to the curator and explore some of the other dialogue options. Thank you guys so much for watching, and as always, Toothpaste On.